NewOrleans.Football, what's the latest on the disagreement between Derek Carr and Erik McCoy and the Saints? Find a way to win.
It was an ugly win, but a win nonetheless.
It was, that is an understatement. It was an ugly win. Maybe the ugliest win. Offensively, at least. As far as a total game, probably the most inept I've ever seen two teams battling. Bryce Young, 2 completions at halftime. Derek Carr, take away A.T. Perry's 40-yard catch. He scores 28 points with 70 yards passing. Wild stuff. Saints had, I think, 207 yards of total offense, outgained by over 100 yards by a team that scored 6 points. Almost kind of a paradox of a game. I've never seen a game like that. Outgained on the ground by over 100 yards, gave up 200 yards rushing to the Carolina Panthers, running attack of Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders. Really wacky, wild game for sure in the Dome. The important thing is, if we're looking at this season, which I think is probably correct. We talked about it before the season or before the game. We kind of have to look at week by week, game by game, this season only, because there's no reason to forecast like Dennis Allen, Pete Carmichael, the offensive, like the scheme, all that stuff, because it in 3-4 weeks it's over. In 3-4 weeks, once the season's over, whether we're in the divisional round of the playoffs or whether we don't win the South or however it shakes out, once all that takes care of itself, it's a new chapter of the New Orleans Saints. We are going to find our new head coach, find the new offensive coordinator, find the new play caller, find the new identity, all that stuff. So it probably is best, as far as just analysis, to look at the current game, the current situation, and the reality of it is, right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are number 1 in the NFC South. We play them in Tampa in, 3 weeks? So everything's still in front of us. We talked about going 5-0 in the last 5 games. We have taken the first step. A lot of people don't want to mention this, but you can't go 5-0 without going 1-0 first. And then you got to go 2-0 against the Giants next week. So we did what we had to do in this game. Was it pretty? No. But we got the result. We have to get the result against the Giants. And then what looks to be probably the toughest part of this stretch is going to be at the Rams and at Tampa Bay. Because you got to like your chances at home against the Falcons with everything to play for if it gets to that point. But now, having to go on the road against Tampa, a team who embarrassed us at home, a team who's playing okay right now, all of a sudden now that game looks like it's a lot of pressure on it.
Less for the New Orleans Saints, and a win that puts the Saints in a 3-way tie for first place in the division. Welcome back to The Dot. Post-game coverage presented by Matt Bowers Auto Group. I'm Brooke Kirchhoffer. The final score of 28-6 doesn't necessarily reflect the stats or the flow of the game, as the
Yeah, it really doesn't. We talked about this in our recap and our review whenever we kind of looked at the box score. The last 2 touchdowns, too, I don't want to be that guy, but I will be. But the last 2 touchdowns felt a lot kind of like how when someone's playing Madden or something and they're trying to get certain players' stats or they're trying to get like records or whatever. It felt like we were throwing the ball. It felt like we were doing things that we normally wouldn't do to kind of placate to either Carr's narrative or the fans or whatever it was. I wouldn't put a lot of stock into 28 points. I'll go ahead and tell you that. Like if you look at this without any of the stats, and you're like, man, the Saints scored 28 points, offensive showcase. And then you look at the stats. Not only should we have not scored 28 points, we probably shouldn't have won the game. If you look at strictly the underlying analytics.
Carolina Panthers never felt out of it. Quarterback Bryce Young did struggle in the passing game, completing just 13 of 36 passes, but the Panthers did run the ball well, finishing the game with over 200 rushing yards. Defensively, the Saints did keep the Panthers out of the end zone and settling for field goals with just 1 field goal missed. Offensively, the Saints punted on 5 of their possessions and finished the game with just 207 total offensive yards, but they did finish in the red zone on 3 of 4 trips and now improve to 6-7.
I just think we struggled to kind of get into a rhythm. I don't think our execution was where it needed to be. I did think we ran the ball well early on.
It's kind of wild how similar all these interviews are with Allen. I mean, it's always execution. It's always, we didn't find a rhythm. We didn't do this. It's the exact same thing over and over and over. And I'm glad he mentioned running the ball well, because we were running the ball at will with Skrmetta. And then I'm pretty sure, someone double check me, I'm pretty sure in the second half he had 4 carries. He had like 3 or 4 carries for like 10 yards, something like that in the second half. So I don't understand why, if you're in a must-win game and your quarterback is injured and you're missing a ton of offensive players, you're missing Taysom Hill, you're missing Rashid Shaheed, you're missing Michael Thomas, you're missing Kendra Miller, and the only thing you're doing well is running the ball with your starting running back, with your best player on your team. I don't understand why they get away from it. I don't understand why Skrmetta has a 55% snap count share in this game. I mean, he should have had 25 carries. And the whole walk back from the Superdome, as I walked past all the fentanyl-laced ice chests, full of beer that people are trying to hawk for $10 a beer on the sidewalk. Some of them half drank, some of them lukewarm, old Milwaukees. But as I'm walking past, I couldn't help but think, what would the reason be? The only reason, or one of the reasons, would be if you're trying to save Skrmetta's legs. That doesn't make any sense, because he missed 3 games to start the season, and you can't save his legs in the middle of a must-win game when you're up 1 possession at home. And Carolina's got the ball. I mean, Carolina, it was 7-3 going into the half. If Carolina scores there, all of a sudden you're looking at 10. You're down. You are down to a team with 2 completions. So I don't know if he's. And it's not like Alvin wasn't playing well. It's not like he had 2 yards of carry and they said, let's get Jamal some work here. He's got 5 yards of carry. So it's not like he's sick or injured, or I just don't know why they got away from what Dennis is talking about here in the postgame, being really the only thing that they had that was working. And they just completely got away from it and went to Jamal, who was averaging like a little under 4 yards of carry. But I don't know, it's just weird.
And then obviously we weren't really able to throw the ball as well as we needed to. So then we began to get a little bit more loaded boxes and things like that made it a little bit more difficult to run the football.
But see, that's exactly what we're talking about. Where I just don't know if they're not watching. And I understand they're on the sidelines. I understand they're head coaches and offensive coordinators in the NFL. But to say we couldn't throw the ball as well as we wanted when you have pretty much 70 yards passing. I mean, that is not throw the ball as well as you wanted. That is like an abject failure. And then to say, oh, well, we had a loaded box. But the loaded box has nothing to do with the usage. The loaded box has nothing to do with Skrmetta having 4 carries. So that's a personnel decision. That's a coaching decision. That straight up. That has nothing to do with them loading the box. It has nothing to do with what the defense is showing you or what you can't do offensively. It's just a decision. And I mean, they kind of back themselves into a corner with a lot of this stuff where it's so simple. Like the other team cannot do anything. You are winning the game. You are rushing for over 5 yards of carry. Just keep running. Make them stop you. Make them stop you from doing it. Don't make the decision for them. They couldn't stop Alvin Skrmetta. So what did we do? Stopped running Alvin Skrmetta. I mean, it's kind of just like 101.
And then, look, when we needed to go make a play to try to end the game, we made a play to end the game. And so I thought that was positive.
Divisional games are always, tough. Obviously there was a moment there in the first quarter where, you thought the scoreboard would say 21-0, but it didn't. But we did a good job, just keep fighting back. Offense ended up making some plays. And then defensively, I thought we did a good job of just getting off the field when we needed to.
It was just gritty. It was grimy. It was ugly. And I feel like that's where part of my frustration came from.
It was all those things. It's pretty crazy. Like Tyran just mentioned the first quarter or the first half or whatever, but pretty crazy because with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, it was 14-6. This was not a game like you look at 28-6, I was like, okay, the game was out of hand. The game really wasn't out of hand until about 5 minutes left in the fourth. 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and you're up by 8 points. That is certainly gritty and grimy, like Eric just said.
But yeah, like I said, a win is a win, and I'm thankful for each and every one because they're hard to get in this NFL no matter who the opponent is.
Yeah.
Tempers did flare up in the game for the Saints after a frustrating first 3 quarters offensively. After Carr was sacked in the third quarter, Carr and center Erick McCoy got into it on the field.
So this play right here, interesting, because I think it was, again, double check me, I'm just totally off memory here. It was, I think we ran the ball 3 times and we got a first down. Then we threw the ball 3 times and punted. But on the third down, it was like 3rd and 2, I believe. And Carr started doing a lot of stuff with the line. And to me, it looked like he might have checked out of a run or checked out of whatever they were doing. And instead, he does whatever he does, whatever he changes, drops back, takes a sack, and we punt. McCoy and Carr get into it, after the play. And I don't know, if I had to guess, I would guess that McCoy probably didn't want him to change the play or didn't want him to get away from what they were doing, no matter what the look was. McCoy probably said, hey, just pound the ball or quit changing stuff, quit trying to complicate stuff, because that's where this miscommunication happens. That's what we saw earlier in the season, where it seemed like no one knew what was going on. Again, it's 3rd and 2. Run the football. Why are we throwing the ball? We cannot throw the ball. The game is on the line. Just run it. And then, of course, you force a sack, and then they get into it. I don't think it was that big of a deal, the disagreement. I think people are harping on that, but I think it was just an in-the-moment thing of like, hey, what the hell are we doing? And then that was it. I don't think it carried over. I don't think there's any underlying issue.
And went back and forth in a heated exchange as they exited the field on 4th down.
Just 2 guys that are both frustrated by offensive failure is really what it is.
Yeah.
I think, for the past few weeks, our offense, few weeks, that's generous. A lot of times this season, our offense has not performed to.
Put James Hurst on there. Let him be the head coach. First of all, Fox 8, my God, get a different microphone. Look at this sign from Fox 8. What, did they drop this microphone off the side of a cliff? Can we get them a new? I mean, is that duct tape? It looks like someone cut with scissors, cut this cardboard and duct taped it to the microphone. Fox 8, God, can we start a GoFundMe for them? But put James Hurst out there, because this is the most honest I've seen someone talk about the offense. Dennis Allen's talking about the execution. Dennis Allen's talking about, well, we couldn't pass as well as we wanted to. James Hurst gets up here and says that's a complete offensive failure. Says the last couple of weeks, well, maybe longer than that. So this is another sign of disconnect between the coaches just saying whatever and what the players are feeling. I mean, this is an offensive lineman, and he's feeling the offensive failures. He's feeling that for the last month, 2 months, the whole season at times, like he said, that the offense is struggling. So the players know. The players certainly know. Also, shout out to right here. This is right here. This is WLOX news station in Biloxi, my hometown. Shout out.
Where we believe that we're capable of performing, and Derek's frustrated, Eric's frustrated, 2 guys just competing, and they're angry, both of them. I mean, it's more than frustration, it's anger. It's it's just feel like we can go out and put a better product out there, and at the time we weren't doing that.
No, you were not.
I think it just boiled
you
over.
absolutely were not.
I think it was just frustration. He was tired of getting hit. I was tired of getting hit, and it was just I lost my cool. I did, and like I said, Derek Carr, I'm sorry. We're good. I love him. He loves me. We're on the same page.
We were both had our reasons. We were both right for an aspect. We were both wrong for an aspect. But that's not the only time that's ever happened, with me and a player or an offensive lineman or a center. That stuff happens. And, the best part about it, Rich Bisaccia always taught me.
It's crazy how much Carr references Oakland and Las Vegas. He always references Bisaccia, who was the interim head coach with the Raiders when they went to the playoffs. He references Gruden, who obviously was the head coach. He always references those guys. It really shows how much he, I guess, holds them in high regard. I don't put any stock into this, TBH. You're going to hear a lot of people trying to break down Carr and McCoy's argument and all that stuff, but this makes total sense to me. The offense is struggling. Carr is getting hit. Like, this is against the Panthers, against a team that you should be dominating. It is a one-score game. I'm sure they were frustrated. And like McCoy just said, angry. That's not just frustration, it's anger. Good. That's what these players should feel, and that's what they do feel. The players, I'll give them this. Every step of the way, every interview, every quote, every game, every whatever, they are fighting. They are feeling it. They are trying. Their passion is there. They're motivated. They're in the right frame of mind. They're trying. They're really trying to work through this. I think they're in a bad situation with Allen and Carmichael, well documented, but the players certainly have not quit on each other. They certainly haven't quit on the season. So every week we kind of say the same thing, but I'm all in on the players. I'm all in on the roster and the guys out there. You can't point at somebody and be like, oh, he's quit on the team. This guy's checked out. This guy's that. That is absolutely not happening.
Those moments are going to happen. You're going to have conflict sometimes, confrontation. Always circle back. So we went and circled back. We looked at each other, both smiled. Yeah. Because we both already knew, but that was, with all the cameras around, that stuff gets caught sometimes. Yeah. But there's no. And
winning does cover stuff up. If we lose this game, it might not be as easy to circle back and make sure everything's okay. Winning is the ultimate Band-Aid.
Problem.
The Saints exited the game without any new injuries and continued getting Jimmy Graham involved in the red zone. There will be things that the Saints can build on from the win, but still a whole lot to clean up before they host the New York Giants in the Superdome next week.
Let me say this too about Jimmy Graham, quick note. So the crowd was kind of checked out of a lot of the game. I mean, it was pretty apathetic. It was pretty just kind of a lot of people just watching, not a lot of, even on like 4th and 1, 3rd down, stuff like that. There was never like real intense crowd activity. But when Jimmy Graham gets involved, he is one of the most beloved Saints I've seen in a long time. I mean, if he touches the ball, if he scores, if whatever, the crowd went from an absolute 0 to 10 out of 10. I mean, they went from, so Graham has not been involved a lot this season, but as far as like a fan favorite, he's way up there. He may be the fan favorite. Him and Tyrann Mathieu, I would say, are the two that get the most love from the fans. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below what you think about the disagreement between Derek Carr and Erik McCoy. Was it a big deal? No big deal? What do you think about the whole thing? Go down in the comments below. Sound off. I'll be down there. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.